Thanks.
Welcome to Freedom Biz Now, the show dedicated to showcasing the best and brightest in business, big and small. Now, welcome the host, founding partner of Freedom Sports and Entertainment and the Freedom Digital Network, from RockVox Studios in Rochester, New York, Mark Washoe.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, RockVox Studios. We are here in snowy Pittsford, New York today, and have a special guest with us, Nicholas Grunert from Roberts Wesleyan University and College, and also Fuego Coffee. So, Nicholas, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for coming in here fighting off the snow today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent. I'm really excited to talk to you because I know you have a diverse background and involved in many things. And I also have a special co-host today. Say hi to Sophie Washoe.
Hi.
Sophie was holding out of her contract, so I finally got that negotiated. So here she is.
Sophie's the real star today.
I figured people were tired of just seeing my face all the time. So, Nicholas, let's start with just kind of tell us a little bit about your background. I kind of call it the Chris Berman ESPN, like 2-minute drill, as much as you can compress that. And then within that background, tell us what led you to Fuego Coffee and then ultimately Robert Wesleyan.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a Rochester transplant. I'm not from Rochester. I came to Rochester from the North Country to go to college. I was a student at Roberts Wesleyan College. I grew up in a very small barn town with like one of those fun towns where you say there's more cows than people. I like to say even the cows are bored, up there, and came to Rochester in 2013 as a vocal performance major to attend Roberts Wesleyan College on a scholarship. And about a month in, I ended up getting involved in a business club called Enactive, stands for Entrepreneurship and Action for Us. I didn't know if I had any business skills, but it seemed like a lot of fun. And my first project was an alum who had come to Roberts wanting to open Fuego Coffee Roasters and wanted advice on how to write a business plan and get business students involved. And I was not a business student. I was a vocal performance major who jumped in and wanted to figure out how to really get this startup on the road. So a month into my first ever semester as a music performance major, I dropped the scholarship and became a management and social entrepreneurship major who just really fell in love with how to do business and how to make an impact in the business world and develop skills to start things up, to sustain things, and to build and to enable progress through entrepreneurship skills. So after I graduated, I had a lot of job offers out there, but I had stayed in connection with Fuego Coffee and kind of worked as their intern. I had the opportunity in 2016 to launch a second Fuego in Tenango, Guatemala. So I got to go to Guatemala and launch an international sister Fuego Coffee Roasters in partnership with Story International, a nonprofit. So I interned as a business development intern while developing a business that I had to do in 4 months over summer vacation and leave 100% Guatemalan run after 4 months, which was crazy. Graduated and ended up taking some ownership and becoming, a lead person in an operations management position at Fuego Coffee Roasters, where I can continue to make a difference in the lives of coffee farmers in the industry and also do business with my friends, which is what led me to that job when I graduated.
Well, that's a fascinating story. I remember you telling me the Guatemala story when I think one of the first times we had ever met when we were talking about the Startup Summit Rochester. So I do want to talk to you about startups and entrepreneurship because that is fascinating. I think most people in business want to know more about that. But back to Fuego just for a moment. What makes Fuego Coffee a little bit different, perhaps, or unique, or differentiates them from some of the other coffee shops that might be local, or the big Starbucks of the world? And I know you mentioned the Guatemala connection. So what is like the general, mission or goal, and what makes it a little bit unique in that manner?
That's a really good question. For Fuego, what keeps me there and what gets me excited to sell it, it's all about the beans. And it's all about our partners and our relations. If you remember when Fuego opened, if anybody had been there, it started with 7 bar stools and a warehousey feeling cement building near Liberty Pole in downtown Rochester. Eventually in 2016, while I was actually in Guatemala, it went to the Euclid Street location, which sat about maybe 20. And now we're in a full-scale 80-person coffee shop. And really what would make Fuego difference when you come into Fuego is we partner directly with coffee farmers. When you ask about the cup of coffee that you're getting at Fuego, which is the same price as something you'd get from Starbucks or another local competitor, we can actually tell you a story about where that coffee came from, who it's impacting, who's getting paid through the process, how we've selected that coffee, why we love the taste of that coffee. And it really does make a difference in the lives of the entire supply chain, the types of ways that we are sourcing our beans. And we like to build community, and we build community all the way from plant growing until our customers sitting there sipping a coffee in a cafe. For me, it's not about just how fun it would be to be in the coffee industry. It really is about making, maybe at the micro level with how small we are right now, a really big difference in an industry that's really not sustainable.
Yeah, and by the way, I love the space down there. Ever since you had moved to the new location, it's just very convenient. It's right in the heart of downtown, big loft space. I've taken Sophie and her sister there before. And by the way, I know Sophie's jealous because you're already telling her about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about marketing, traveling, like Sophie wants to travel.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And unfortunately with the pandemic, it's been a little less. But just one other question, and then I want to go to Robert's Wesleyan for a moment. But what is, I hope we get to the point we have to stop asking this question. So with COVID-19 pandemic and greatly affecting the bar, restaurant, food, beverage industry, how has that impacted Fuego, and what have you all been doing to kind of keep things going in the midst of all of this at the moment?
Absolutely. So for me, working in operations, it definitely impacted my job the most. It got very busy. But what I love about what we did at Fuego is we got creative. We knew this was coming. We weren't going to wait last minute. We wanted to be prepared should an emergency happen where we need to close. So, we had a web developer who we were working with us. And we got online as fast as possible. And the dedication of the owners of Fuego it's just incredible. We kept meeting as managers. We met daily. We texted all night long. We created creative strategies to just get our beans out there. We really developed our online presence. You could get Fuego online. We got in our vehicles and drove people coffee. If you want coffee, we will drive it to your house. And it was just crazy. And we got virtual tip jars to support our baristas who either had, eliminated hours or dropped hours, as we had to pivot to takeout only. And we just think about, as we got out of that original dramatic, everyone remembers, was it March 19th or something, that crazy day. But as we started bringing things back, that's where the magic and the good decisions started coming out was, how do we do things more efficient? How do we do our work more efficient? And how can we be a better company? How can we do things better? So we, collaborated with our business farmers and we're actually bringing in better beans and focusing on fewer farms that we can have a direct relationship with. We operate things differently. And I think out of this, we will be a better business. It's hard. And it is hard. And I'm not, I'm making this sound probably a lot easier than it has been. We've had to hurt some people in the process, but we ultimately will be a better company because of this. And I know that we can get through it.
That's great. So then what leads you to Robert's Wesleyan? I know you had kind of started there through that entrepreneurship program you referenced, and then that brought you to Fuego. And then how did you end up kind of there full time and doing what you're doing now for their master's program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an enrollment counselor. I'm the guy you talk to help you figure out grad school and if you want to come to grad school. And I actually got the job at Roberts because I went to an information meeting. I went to all the local Rochester colleges because a challenge for me with Fuego was, I'd gotten to a point where I was an operations manager. I was doing what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, which was be a heartbeat that can sustain a business. And I learned that in undergrad, you get so much great material on how to start a business, but the real hard work happens in the logistics of running a business. So I really wanted to go get some more skills. So I looked around at Rochester colleges and actually went to Roberts last because I thought, well, I'd differentiate my portfolio a little bit and get another college under my name. So I went to the information meeting, and I was really impressed with what I heard, and they were impressed too. So after the information meeting, they actually asked, they said, well, would you consider coming back to work for Roberts to take a position where you create some partnerships between the college and other organizations like the Startup Summit and other events, get the name of the college out there, and encourage adults to come get a graduate degree. And I thought that was such a cool opportunity just to practice business, but also encourage other people to continue bettering themselves in business. So I ended up accepting the position at Roberts, and I have been there since July of 2019, and I've really enjoy working at Roberts.
Awesome. Okay, so I have another question. So what differentiates your program from other programs being offered?
Oof, that's the big question right there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that's really interesting is, you think about, well, I'm going to get a graduate business degree. Your first thought's going to be MBA, right? You get an MBA. That's the master's that you get. Roberts does not have an MBA. We actually, in my opinion, went a step further. So what differentiates Roberts is Roberts develops real people. Roberts has always been intentional since we've been founded to really develop people in unique ways. So our MBA is a master's in strategic leadership, which emphasizes on that leadership part before management. Management is, how do you deal with the resources that you have, and how do you output from that? How do you discipline people? How do you manage people? Leadership is seeking out opportunity, seeking out strategy, and looking at the people that you have and seeking out those skills in those people and moving you and figuring out how to use those talents to move your business forward. Strategic leadership is not thinking about this year, but in 10 years, are you still going to be here? What's those next steps that you're going to take? We want you to look further. And another thing about our program that's great is it's designed for a working adult. We're not asking you to spend $100,000 and go get your MBA in a couple of years. We're taking a year to 2 years out of your life. You take one class at a time, either in the classroom one night a week or online, or you can hybrid between both of them. There's a lot of flexibility, and it's designed to come alongside. What are you doing now? Who do you want to be? How do you want to lead people? How do you want to be developed? And you can start applying the things that you're learning in class right now. Don't wait 2 years. Start applying it now. That's what you want to do when you come to grad school. So that's what makes Roberts different when you get one of our master's degrees.
Right. So on a similar note, what are the primary differences between your strategic marketing plan and the strategic leadership degrees? Yeah.
So two of our flagship programs. We have the Master's in Strategic Leadership as well as that Master's in Strategic Marketing. The Master's in Strategic Leadership, we formed that about 20 years ago. And that really is a holistic business approach to developing solutions. You learn business ethics, economics, finance. One of everyone's favorite class is organizational leadership, which is such an important skill to have right now as you're thinking about companies that had to make cuts. We all had to make cuts. And how do you develop an organizational strategy, a leadership structure, where you have a president, a vice president, so-and-so. And, why is that the best way to carry out your business? And you learn those skills, and you learn strategy and how to run a business, start a business, and sustain it. Strategic marketing, it's really holistic in marketing. So whether you're coming from PR, maybe you're an event planner, or really any area of marketing, you're going to be able to run an entire marketing operation or an entire marketing plan. So you can do different things like, PR, write strategic marketing plans. It emphasizes that strategy again. You're a marketing professional who can think years down the road and can keep up with marketing trends, know where to find them, and be able to really manage a marketing portfolio in a really strategic and great way.
That's great. And so actually, this is another just related question. So somebody like Sophie, who's still in high school, very interested in business, what would you say to somebody, whether they're in high school or going to undergraduate program? I know that your target candidates more of a working professional, but somebody that may be forward thinking, like you said, that's thinking 5-6 years down the road. What should they do to prepare themselves? Like, what do you look for in the candidates that you recruit, and what should they do to prepare to really get the best look at going into a program like what Roberts has to offer?
Absolutely. That's a phenomenal question. What I tell an adult is, education is the best gift you're ever going to buy yourself. You're going to buy a house, and that's going to be for a family or because you need a house. You're going to buy a car because you need a car. You need to get somewhere. But education is the thing that's the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy you. That's a gift for you. And as an adult, I think it's amazing, compared to an undergrad or a high school student, you might not be sure what you want to do. There might be a lot of options out there, and that's okay. And I'll get to that in a second. But, as an adult, the longer you wait, the more risk that you do put on that you do put in your finances. Your family gets older. There's more risk involved. There's more risk the older that you get. The younger that you are, you're always going to say this isn't possible. This isn't the right time. But the reality is the right time's window is getting smaller. But I really want a student who wants to invest that money in themselves. It's not just because the employer's going to pay for it. It's because they want to become a better leader and they really want to grow. And a high school student, explore things. In high school, you're required to take English, math, social studies. You don't have a choice in what you take. And when you go to college, you're going to get a variety of classes ranging from science to arts. And you might be like me, who came in as a music major and completely switched. And I don't regret switching. I don't regret choosing Roberts. And even though I completely switched my degree, I knew I was at the place that I wanted to go. So as you're seeking out colleges, walk the campuses that, as you're walking and you're visioning yourself, I'm going to be here for 4 years. Can you see yourself there for 4 years? Are you excited to be there? It's okay to not 100% know what you're going to do, but absolutely keep dreaming. Dreaming it's so important. And same answer to you. Your education is the best gift that you're ever going to buy yourself. So, don't shy off your dream school. Pick the one that really warms your heart and that you're excited to go to, even if it's a little more expensive.
Excellent. No, thank you. That's great. And so you'd mentioned this before. You mentioned the Startup Summit, and actually, when I was embarking on that, it's hard to believe that was over almost a year, in 3-4 months ago already. And I wasn't really sure if there was an appetite, and I know there's other startup activities here in the Rochester community. My brother was doing something similar down the Raleigh, North Carolina area, which is a lot more startup and entrepreneur activity than supposedly than Rochester. But you were one of the first people that outreached to me. We actually met over at Fuego one afternoon, and you were excited about it. You're like, "Hey, Mark, this is a perfect platform. I like to get out. I like to network." You guys sponsored Fuego, came and helped us with coffee, and I remember when that event was going on, it's hard to know exactly all the collaboration that's happening and the relationships that are being built. But in the wake of that event, you had shared with me that you had some really positive interactions. You got some new students that came out of it. So describe for me what platforms like the Startup Summit are and how you seek them out, and then kind of the positive outcomes that come from those kind of things.
Yeah, one thing I love about my role at Roberts when I started was I kind of have the freedom and control to choose, and to think creatively about where to bring my students. And I think I heard about the Startup Summit, if I remember correctly, because this whole year is just a complete blur. But it was the Rochester Business article or journal. I think I saw it in the Rochester Business Journal that it was coming and launching. And I was thinking about, my personal story of, why I wanted to go on to grad school. And it was to better myself, to better my skills, and to better the work that I'm doing. And what better way than a startup summit or an opportunity to go somewhere? And even if you're starting a business and not starting a degree, somewhere where Roberts can be seen in the community as the way that we're supporting our local startup community that, we have a lot to offer at Roberts. We have content experts. We have, a campus community full of resources that we want to give to Rochester. And I wanted that to be known. And finding something like the Startup Summit, I thought was perfect because I can tell the Fuego story. And, side note, we had just opened Matilda Coffee House and Kitchen in the old Starry Nights Cafe kind of location off University. And that's exciting. It's being around startup energy it's addicting, it's exciting, and you want to be a part of it. So when I saw that opportunity, it was actually the first sponsorship that I made in my role. Yep.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. No, thank you. And I think it was great. I mean, you definitely helped support what we were doing. You enhanced it both with Fuego and then just Roberts being there. And I know that the energy, like you said, the energy was excellent in that room. And entrepreneurs are a different breed, I think, in many ways, right?
Absolutely.
It takes a certain mindset to get into business on your own. And actually, that was another question I was going to ask you. So being around entrepreneurs and people that are in startups, what kind of characteristics do you see that are a little more commonplace? I'm sure they're all very diverse, but is there like a common thread, top 2-3 things that you kind of see that exist with entrepreneurs and folks that are getting into startup companies?
Oof, that's a good question. Passion. You're passionate, you can't let the energy die. And you just have a conversation like when you've reached that point where you are starting up and you're ready to take off. What I love about entrepreneurs is they're never apologetic of what they're offering, right? You never see them like, I have this idea and I hope it works. They're excited. They've got energy behind it and they have vision. The best entrepreneurs and the best entrepreneurial energy for me is not with, I'm about to start this, but I'm about to take off with this. So then this is what's coming down the road. Multi-phase entrepreneurs, I guess you could say, there's always a what's next. There's not a, I'm finally going to take off. I'm taking off, I'm taking off next week and this is what it's going to be like. And I'm going to be satisfied with that. No, there's something next. There's something next around the corner. And I get excited to hear about the what's next. And I loved in the Startup Summit, there was new entrepreneurs and there was some that have been in business for a while and are successful. And to hear how their phases turned out too it was really interesting to hear. And being around that environment was addicting. I could just hang out with entrepreneurs all day.
You remind me of a quick mini interesting story just real quickly because I obviously want to hear your story. But the very first time I endeavored into entrepreneurship, I had kind of done it by myself for a period of time and then I kind of dropped out of it and I was thinking about entering it again, but this time with a business partner versus kind of going on my own. And at the same time, I had a job offer. And when I was talking to my potential partner and he was like, so Mark, tell me about this job offer you have with this sports team. And I was just kind of like, well, it's over here and I'd be doing this role and, this benefit package program and blah, blah, blah. And it was like just very mundane. Then all of a sudden he's like, well, tell me about your last entrepreneurship experience and what you would want to do if we were partners. And like you said, I just like burst in energy. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was just talking like a mile a minute. Like my voice got elevated. And this guy on the other line, he said, his name is Michael Hitchcock. He still has his own company. He's like, did you just hear yourself that last like 2 minutes? He's like, when you talked about that job, the job, you were just very boring. And then all of a sudden I asked you about your company and you just like got animated and perked up. And he's like, that's the difference. That's where you need to go. So would you agree with do you see the same thing in that manner?
Absolutely. I cross my eyes when I get excited. So, when I'm telling people, when Matilda was launching, I was so excited that people would stop and be like, do you realize you cross your eyes when you're excited? I'm like, great. Now that's what I think of all the time. But, it's when somebody stops and asks an entrepreneur the why instead of the what. We always entrepreneurs constantly say the what. They have to constantly put it out there. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. But if you stop and ask an entrepreneur the why are you doing it? What need, what's the need that you're addressing, or, why? They had that idea come out of somewhere. Sometimes it's the shower, the toilet. It honestly be from somewhere super silly, but that's what lights them up. So, as you're talking to an entrepreneur and you want to encourage them, ask for the why, not just the what. Let them talk, and they will show you how excited they are.
Yeah, those are some really great points. So, so we noticed that you are also a swimming coach at Wesleyan, and you teach at Midtown. Are you still involved with that?
I am, yes. So I am the assistant men's and women's swimming and diving coach at Roberts. And what's so cool about that is I was a swimmer in high school. I didn't get the opportunity to swim in college. I had looked at other colleges to go swimming at, but I had my heart set on Roberts. It's really where I wanted to go. So I had to give up swimming. Roberts got a swim team the year after I graduated. Literally, like the semester after I left Roberts in 2017. So talk about startups, and that's where my energy is. The thought, I kept thinking, like, I would love to reach out to Roberts and help them start that swim team. It would be so cool to just help them launch that. So I've been the assistant swim coach for 3 years. I'm a volunteer coach. I'm not paid to do it, but watching a new sports team develop, that's good energy. That's exciting. Watching those records get shattered and learning how to build that program is really cool. And yeah, I do teach at Midtown Athletic Club here in Rochester. I teach some private lessons over there. I live near the club, so lifeguarding is just something I refuse to let go away. So I've been lifeguarding there for a number of years and just started teaching. And I teach adults, and I teach advanced swimmers who might be looking to go faster in high school or have a good season or just stay in shape through the summer. Those are the students that I teach over there.
Sophie is a really good swimmer. I know she gets embarrassed when I bring it up, but and she's a lifeguard this summer, and she teaches beginners and kids, and you should see her strokes too. Like she can nail it. But
oh, thanks.
So maybe Nicholas will inspire you, Sophie, to get back in the pool. So what? So this goes more to so not everything in entrepreneurship. I know it sounds great because everybody has energy and passion and commitment, but everybody else will tell you that being an entrepreneur and being in part of a startup company, for example, there's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be adversity. You're going to get rejected. You're going to have really rough days, weeks, and months. Sometimes they drag. What advice, and you probably see it through people going through the program, like maybe their first 2 months are going awesome, and then they hit a roadblock or they start getting discouraged. So what's your advice, or how do you see entrepreneurs kind of fight through those tough moments and rejection and dealing with adversity?
Yes. In my experience, it's don't be too married to your business plan. And I know you want this to be perfect. I know you want it to perfectly happen, but it just won't. Going back to Fuego, Guatemala, thinking about starting an international business, we at Roberts, my friends and I, we had a year to write a perfect business plan, to go to Guatemala, to launch. And you would not believe the problems we ran into in Guatemala. That business plan is, I don't even want to read it anymore because it can be burnt, ripped to shreds. Yep. It was, we didn't have water, we couldn't get anything working, and nobody came. We tried to bring something different. We were thinking about, no one does to-go coffee in Guatemala. Nobody has a bagel or something to grab on the way. We tried to introduce that culture there. And we were open early in the morning and no one ever came. And, at night, we would close, and I was watching, I see there were some apartments upstairs, and I'd look out the window, and there were so many people coming to check us out while we were closed. And we ended up learning Guatemalans drink coffee at night. They don't drink coffee in the morning. They like to go to events and dinner and different things. So we completely had to restructure and rethink about it. So just don't be too married to that business plan. Be willing to fail and learn from it. Your reason for failure is because you're not hitting part of the need that you thought you were, or you're not hitting part of the audience that you thought you were going to hit. So study the audience and, let them tell you why you're failing. I was out on the streets and butchered Spanish asking people why they weren't coming to Fuego, and you fail, and everybody fails. And I don't think there's any entrepreneur who can say 5 years down the road, their 5-year business plan was executed perfectly and they're fine. If you are, then you have a magic wand and not a pen when you're writing your business plan. So that's what I would have to say.
That's great advice. And I've been accustomed, and I'm proponent of business plans because early in my career I was initially forced to do them, and then after a period of time they kind of become your routine. But I always say that those things are living and breathing documents. They're not Yeah, like you said, it's just not the letter, that you have to follow, and you got to pivot and change. And sometimes, like you said, you just shred them and throw them away or start over. So that's really interesting. So what other just final tips or thoughts would you share with entrepreneurs or people in business? And again, drawing from your personal experiences, also the folks that you see in your programs, because I'm sure, again, you see all types with all types of businesses. So what just final advice would you give to somebody in business?
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody wanted to start a business or wanted to know where do you start, in launching a business, I'd have to say, think about where others see problems, and you need to see that as an opportunity. COVID is a problem, right? It's a big problem, and to fix it takes big, radical problem-solving skills in order to address it. Find opportunity, and just that's what makes an entrepreneur different. When you are so excited because you've thought of a solution to a problem, that's just amazing, and you can run on that. So, if maybe you're not an entrepreneur, but maybe everybody uses entrepreneurial gifts in every job that you ever do. Think about right now in a time of COVID, what can you do to make things better? When this is over, how can you improve things? That's what we did at Fuego, and, at Roberts too. At Roberts, I believe we are becoming a better, stronger college. And, we're looking around the country and we're kind of defying a lot of statistics. These small colleges, everyone is, waiting, and there's probably people in Rochester looking over on the west side with a timer, wondering when's Roberts going to make that big cut announcement. And you know what? It's not going to happen. We are doing okay. We're doing well because we're innovative. And we're in an environment where we take a problem, we see opportunity, we look for those opportunities, and we grow from that. Speaking personally as an enrollment counselor, to toss a quick, Robert's story in there. When this happened, all these enrollment webinars went up there from collegiate partners asking, how are we going to save our enrollment? But I have funnels of students back 10 years. And, in the last 10 years, it was not the right time to get a graduate degree. But I knew if I reached out to that group of 10-year inquiries that had raised their hand at one point and it ended up not being the right time, that maybe COVID's the right time. Maybe people are at home. Maybe there's less jobs out there and more people looking for a master's degree. And that's a perfect time to go get a master's degree. And I ended up beating my fall goals, which was very not, trendy across the United States. And, but you think of opportunity and you solve it, and you can do that in no matter what job you're working.
Wow, Sophie, so you just got a crash course in 30 minutes of 2-year master's program. Do you have any other thoughts or questions for Nicholas based on what you just heard today?
I think that you said a lot of really good information. And I actually personally learned a lot too, because I don't know that much about entrepreneurship. I'm taking marketing in school, but I haven't really gotten a chance to learn much about it. And I really think that you said a lot of really good things. So thank you for that. That was really helpful.
I was talking to you the whole time. I'm recruiting
I wasn't even in the room. I'm a prop. It's all good. So I always tell everybody, man, the time always flies and zips on by. I'm sure we can keep talking for another 2-3 hours about business, startups, entrepreneurship, all those things, because it's really fascinating. And to Sophie's point, you have a fascinating story. You've given great tips, and I know there's a lot more to come based on your endeavors. So just kind of parting thoughts, any just things you want to just add that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover? And then before we wrap, please tell people how we can find you, whether your social channels, the websites to go to Fuego as well as Robert. So tell us just kind of in conclusion where people can find you, and if there's any final thoughts you wanted to share as well.
Yeah, my final thought is whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or whether you're looking at grad school, the same answer. Risk is always greater the longer you wait. And that doesn't feel like it now. I was telling Mark before I came in, entrepreneurs are my least favorite students because, you're the different one. You're the one who there are different seasons where it actually is, there's good and bad seasons to go to school. But I love LinkedIn. And I love when people talk to me on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is one of the best places to find me. That way you don't have to bounce through websites and try to find my profile. I encourage you to check me out on LinkedIn. If you go and look at the graduate business programs at Roberts Wesleyan, you can find me. I should be the first name at the top, which is an honor, but it's just because that college wants people to talk to me first. And if you come into Fuego Coffee and I am there and you want to talk, I will totally treat you to coffee. And if I'm not there, which it's really hard to find me, by the way, it is very hard to track me down. But if you are there, and I would love to sit down, when we can, have a cup of coffee, and I just love to also hear people's stories and just wonder how I can help.
Well, I can assure you that's how you and I first started talking, and we met over a coffee, and it was really, I really enjoyed it. So, Nicholas, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for telling your story and telling us how people can find you. Sophie, great job on your hosting debut. Well done.
Thanks for having me.
You're the star.
And Scott, thank you as always. And thank you to RockVox Studio here in Pittsford, New York. Thank you.
Today's show was brought to you by Freedom X Sanitizer for Business. Keep your employees, customers, and clients safe with Freedom X Sanitizer for Business. Visit freedomxsanitizer.com.